We have officially reached the God what have you done phase of Season 5. If you've been following along, you know that JR has spent the last month playing a very expensive game of chicken with Clayton Farlow, using Ewing Oil's credit line as his personal piggy bank to fund a vendetta. Jock is still MIA in South America, leaving Miss Ellie to deal with a house full of ego and a son who is speedrunning the destruction of the family legacy. Everywhere you look, there is structural collapse. Not just the company, but the family hierarchy itself. We're at that perfect point in a soap opera where the villain is so overconfident he doesn't realize the floorboards have been sawed through. It's Thanksgiving weekend 1981. The turkey is ready, the bourbon is top shelf, and the Ewings are about to tear each other apart. At breakfast, Ellie ponders if the crude drop is going to force Jock to extend his stay in South America. JR tells her it's just temporary, and then he has to repeat the same thing when Ray and Donna show up to breakfast. Ray, in his benign ignorance, says that the only people who will be hurt by a price drop are the speculators who have been stockpiling crude oil.
It's kind of hard to find sympathy for them.
The controller tells Clayton he can't continue to be loyal to his employees when there's no money coming in. So Ellen overhears this and reiterates her offer to leave. Clayton says he's not giving in to blackmail, though. Besides, they can outweight JR. At therapy, Pamela is still upset about being abandoned all those years ago. She says that understanding and living with it are two different things.
The same thing happened to your brother. He seems to have coped very well.
Now wait just a minute, Doc, if that is your real name. Cliff Barnes is not coping well. The man is the human equivalent of a glaring typo. Pamela thankfully says as much, so it's not just hanging out there.
Cliff coped by being so bitter that until recently he couldn't even talk about my mother.
Pamela admits it's silly to think that she will be able to make up for her lost childhood by loving a baby of her own, but her fixation is still there. It doesn't have to be logical. Fixations frequently aren't. Victoria Principal does a much better job here than she did in previous episodes. In these therapy scenes, she at least has a direction for the character. It's not just like the director comes in and says, "Hey Vicky, we need you to break down," but like, more, you know what I'm saying? Von Leland shows up at Ewing Oil to gauge how JR is feeling about the drop in the price of oil, and JR says it's not going to be a problem, even though Von calculates he lost $5 million overnight. At the Krebbs homestead, Donna's editor gives them the good news. They're going to publish her biography of Sam Culver. Apparently, Donna has the political insider knowledge of Walter Lippmann, the biting wit of a Dorothy Parker, and the insight into the human condition of a Truman Capote. Also, Ray is in the room. Ray gets a call from the development project's architect who confirms that there is a problem with the soil on the plot that they just purchased. Donna, who you'll remember is a full silent partner in this venture, asks if anything is wrong, and Ray of course lies to her about it. And Donna Culver Krebbs is a woman who knows when she's being lied to. JR approaches Afton and offers her a trip to the Bahamas, if she'll take Von Leland. Afton says that she's not that desperate for a recording contract. JR tries to force her to go physically, but Mitch arrives just in time to smack JR around. Thankfully, he doesn't break his good surgery hand on JR's jaw. JR goes full cartoon villain though and storms out yelling about how they'll all pay. Mitch, like most people in Dallas, was just waiting for a reason to sock JR in the choppers.
I just realized I've been going the wrong way down a one-way street.
She took the midnight train going anywhere.
JR goes to his backup, and while he's not exactly hurting for high-end call girls, I bet you didn't expect him to enlist future Cliff Barnes' fiancée and Johnny Dancer murderer suspect, Liz Adams. Of course, her call girl name here is Heather Wilson. I mean, she can't be giving out her real name. If Cliff had a problem with her selling the company, just think of how ballistic he'd go if he knew what she was doing here. It would be like Bobby Ewing finding out Anne Ryland had a one-night stand with Cliff. Vaughn thinks that she's a fine replacement for Afton Cooper, since all women are interchangeable vaginas to these guys anyway. He says it still won't affect the foreclosure. At lunch, Neil the architect confirms that it's going to cost roughly 150% of the original total to complete the project because the soil is no good for building the way they want to build. He also, in the gentlest way possible, tells Ray that a smart developer will usually have this kind of thing done long before the money exchanges hands, thus fulfilling that self-fulfilling prophecy Ray had in his head the whole time. It was a stupid rookie move made by a stupid rookie, but instead of using it as a chance to grow, Ray immediately goes into sulking mode. And then in a dynamic twist for the series, Ellie receives a letter from Jock, his wishes for how he wants Ewing Oil run in his absence. It's one of those convoluted only in a soap opera setups, but it's the catalyst for a large chunk of the season storyline, so here goes. Jock of course retains ownership of the company, but in his absence, Ellie controls 30% of the company, JR 20%, Bobby 20%, Ray 10%, and Gary Ewing 10%. The kicker is that John Ross will also control 10% with the caveat that if he's living on South Fork, JR will control his 10% because he's a minor. If John Ross is not living at South Fork, though, those 10 shares revert to Miss Ellie. The next morning, Ellie ponders to Donna if Jock made the right decision. Well, I mean, as a general rule, major corporations do not give 3-year-olds a large stake in the company, and then leave determining who controls that company up to where the 3-year-old is living. But Jock may have been delirious, we don't know. Since Bobby mentioned potentially auditing the books, JR makes sure to send the Ewing Oil controller on an early extended vacation. He also makes plans to hide some of the more incriminating documents in storage. Over at Knott's Landing, Valine isn't happy about the whole situation. She thinks it's a perfect storm to pull Gary back into some Ewing nonsense. Gary, much like Ray, thinks things will be fine this time. Well, these two are probably just stressed from Sid Fairgate dying the night before. Afton finally seeks out Cliff Barnes to see if the rumors of his non-loserdom are true. They're not, but he has all the trappings of success, so she's warming up to him for now.
I'm gonna go out. I'll be back in a couple hours.
Afton tells Cliff everything about JR's financial woes, since Von Leland spilled everything to her. Cliff doesn't believe her at first, but Afton describes life as JR's designated call girl and says she's out for revenge. Cliff sees this as a match made in heaven. Bobby visits Pam and learns that Pam had been bottling things up long before Rebecca re-entered the picture. Pam thinks she's ready to leave the institution, but then she also goes right back to being fixated on whether the adoption agency got back to Bobby. So maybe give it a few more days, Pam? Recognizing that he's going to be awfully busy with Pam and co-running Ewing Oil, Bobby announces that he's not running for re-election for Senate. In this case, he actually is going to be spending more time with his family. Ray stops by the bank to drum up a little more cash so he can finish Krebbs Estates Meadows, or whatever it's called, the development thing he mucked up by not getting the soil test in the first place. His banker says that Ray and Donna together have more than enough collateral, but Ray, of course, wants to go on his own and leave his life in the hands of the loan committee. Ray, Donna said she was going to be a silent partner, not a blind partner. Ray scolds Shear for not telling him about the bad soil, and Shear all but calls him a stupid cowboy who doesn't know what he's doing. Ray is so preoccupied that he barely reacts to Donna getting an advance on her Sam Culver book. Way to put a damper on the mood, Ray. Can't you do anything right? Hoping to bring things to a head, JR challenges Dusty Farlow to meet him at the Cotton Bowl Stadium. I said Pam on the rooftop might be the most memorable image of the season, but nah, this one is iconic. Goofy if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, but amazing and iconic. JR rolls into the stadium like he owns the place, but then Dusty lands on the field in a friggin' helicopter and goes toe-to-toe with him. JR starts in with the digs at Dusty's manhood and then segues into calling Sue Ellen a whore. He twists things around and says that they were very happy in their sex life, but Sue Ellen just wanted more and more. An addiction, if you will. An inclination for an incline. A fixation on fornication. Having a monkey on one's back for making the beast with 2 backs. Is sex addiction alliteration jokes doing anything for you? Anyway, JR, as he frequently has done in this arc, goes too far and gets the taste slapped out of his mouth. That doesn't stop him though, as he tells Dusty that Sue Ellen's sexual appetite is just too powerful for a man who can't get it up. You know, unless she's getting it from Clayton. Dusty storms off, but you can see it's getting to him. And we're out. JR and Dusty's big showdown at the Cotton Bowl is fondly remembered for the sheer grandeur of the production. But honestly, it's all hat and no cattle. Well, it's a little cattle. For all the hype, it's mostly just JR hurling barbs at Dusty until Dusty gets in a helicopter and flies away sad. But it's not some epic tete-a-tete like the production values promise. That being said, dude, the guy lands a helicopter in the middle of a football field. And then he does an Old West shootout pose. How can you be mad at that? Otherwise, the Pamby story arc, which was flirting with getting really interesting, hits the pause button here. Bobby doesn't find out anything new about the baby, and Pam keeps going back and forth between feeling abandoned and wondering when Amazon is going to drop off that baby she ordered. It's kind of like this story took an episode off. I do like what's going on with Ray and Donna, though. Yes, Ray is frustrating, but there is something very human about his desire to live up to Jock and Donna's consternation over that. It's never framed this way, but Donna's concern over Ray moving from cowboy to developer does have an undertone of smugness. She is wealthier. She is more educated. And the way she talks about Ray makes it seem like she doesn't want him to grow. But the real storyline is the split. As if the oil hoarding scheme wasn't dangerous enough for him, now JR has to contend with his own family meddling in his affairs. And that's going to mean he's not just playing 4D chess. He's playing several games at once.